City Current. Produced by Dakota Media Access. In-depth discussion with Bismarck and Mandan city officials. Watch on Government Access Channel 602 HD or tune in to Radio Access 102.5 FM. Always local, always current.
And welcome to this edition of City Current, Mandan Style. Mandan City Administrator Jim Neubauer joins me. Good to see you, Jim.
You too, Tom. It's been probably been a month since we've been here.
It feels like it's been a while.
Right.
Summer's in full swing, and busy city commission meeting last night. Just some coming up talking points. We're going to talk about the request for a Renaissance Zone program extension. A construction update. I know there was a update on, I believe, 7 projects given last night. Of course, everybody wants to know about Memorial Highway.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about the preliminary approval of the 2026 Mandan City budget. But the meeting started last night with, we'll start with announcements. And August 14th is the 90th anniversary of Social Security, and Josh Askvig, the executive director of AARP North Dakota, came and led the Pledge of Allegiance, and they wanted to honor the anniversary of Social Security.
Yeah, a nice proclamation for Josh and his crew to show up, and had a couple of friends with him. Obviously, Social Security is a big thing. We all know that, and it's one of those things that folks depend on. Whether it's for medical reasons, whether it's for retirement income, when you're done working, it's time to enter those golden years, as some call it. Others call it another term, or many other terms for that. But great to have Josh and his crew. And I think there's an event on August 20th at JC Park, I believe. So if you're looking for an event on the 20th of August, search it. And find out all the details.
The proclamation I'm just looking says 146,521 residents in North Dakota currently rely on Social Security to help in those golden years, as you mentioned, or whatever we want to call them. Construction update, as I mentioned, there was an update given on 7 projects, but a pretty big change on Memorial Highway as traffic has shifted.
Yeah, traffic has shifted. Lots of comments on what do we call it, the wavy bacon. Road that's there now that folks are driving on. Again, we remind folks that is temporary. That is not the final project. I'd love to stand on here and mess with you and say that's what the final project is going to be, but I'm not going to do that. The wavy bacon road is temporary. They need to get to the other side on the south side of Memorial Highway and get that asphalt cleaned off and get ready for the paving that'll happen later. And it's, like you said, we had 7 different projects that Jarek gave updates on. Obviously, we have had a few rain days this spring and this summer. So I think the number was 3 weeks and 1 day behind. Obviously, when contractors bid jobs and we all work on what's the timing of those things, there are rain days built in to those projects. But this has been kind of an extreme summer for you'll have a rainstorm, you'll get things dried out, you start to work, and then you'll have another rainstorm. So there's been multiple issues of that going on. So things are a little bit behind, but they're going to do what they can to catch up. As construction projects in North Dakota, you rely on summer and winter, and summer is construction season, and winter is winter. And in the summer, we've had a bit of rain.
Yeah, we sure have, and more in the forecast, it sounds like.
Yes.
A fun event coming up August 14th, and that is Mandan Police Department's 8th annual Grill with a Cop, which will be up at the Eagles Park.
Yeah, great event. Everyone's encouraged. There'll be hamburgers, hot dogs, brats, chips, sodas, things like that. Bring your family. Get to know our police officers. We also have, I think all of our police staff will be there, from the sworn officers to support staff to, I think, Highway Patrol said they were going to bring some folks over. We have our Public Works crew bring some of their equipment up to the park, and it's a great time to bring our officers to the community and say, here, meet and greet them. They'll be cooking and serving folks, and we're hoping to have one of the canines there, Medvi and Angela Black, who I think were a big hit last year in doing some demonstrations with Medvi, who you don't want to be on the wrong.
No.
You do not want to be on the wrong end of Medvi because you will know it. And so, like I said, great event, and encourage everybody to come out on August 14th.
I heard the chief say last night, it runs from 5:30 to 7:30. You can
Right.
see the sign, or if you're listening, it is a free event. Want to
It is
reiterate
free.
that, but chief said people start showing up around 4:30, an hour early. So
It is.
this is
It's
popular.
a beautiful park, great playground. There are people up there all the time. Horseshoe pit. They have a meeting room or an event room up there too. So, again, show up early, stay late, and but like I said, they will have enough food for everybody.
Wanted to touch on, moving along on the agenda last night, the newly implemented public comment
Yep.
area space. No one spoke last night, but just thought we'd remind people that this is due to some legislative change. Every meeting now will have public comment. They determine.
Yep. School boards, park boards, city commissions, county commissions, after August 1, everybody has to have a public comment period. You can set your policy. Different cities or municipalities, entities will set their own policies. They have to meet some criteria that was adopted in the state law that was passed, so that those items that can be commented on are, public hearing, anyone can come and comment
Yep.
on the public hearing. And that stays the same. This is for public comment on items related to the current agenda or the previous agenda. And our commission took a 3-minute, you've got a 3-minute time period, and you have also 30 minutes in total for that public comment period. And you generally had really good cooperative residents that are very respectful of each other when they have that public comment period. But again, I think what this was our legislators saying, you have to provide that, because prior to this, commission meetings and park board meetings, county meetings, school board meetings, really it is a meeting held in public. Other than for the public hearing part, your elected officials could say, we're not taking any public comment on anything else other than the public hearing portion. Legislators said we would like to have a public comment period on everybody's agenda, so we do that, and we're perfectly good with that. And again, if you want to submit comments 24 hours in advance of the meeting, you can certainly do that. Commissioners would then have them at the meeting. If you submit those comments after or within 24 hours of the meeting, they will get them after the meeting. So again, there's some rules put in place. We have our policy on our website. Like you said, no one showed up or no one commented last night, so the first run is fine, and this will be a continuation. This will be on every agenda from now on.
Yeah, I'm sure as the public catches on, that space will be utilized
Yep.
moving forward. One of the big issues last night was considering the 10-year extension to the Renaissance Zone program in
Right.
Mandan, which has had significant impact on the city. Let's talk about some of the details of that program. It would expire at the end of this month if action wasn't taken.
Right, and that I think the Renaissance Zone program was put in place in 1999 by the state legislature. Allows for cities to create blocks of contiguous property that may be suffering from blight. Sometimes that's in your downtown areas. Those blocks, the number of blocks you could have were dependent upon your population. Mandan's Renaissance Zone area is quite large compared to most communities, because we have the south side of Main Street really is 2 blocks where you have railroad property and
Right.
things like that. So our Renaissance Zone is significantly large and elongated. Madison Cermak, our Business Development and Communications Director, did a nice job of presenting. Here's a number of projects. We've, 97 or 92
I see
projects,
right
I think.
in front of me 92 projects completed and over $300 million in private investment to
I wish we had
reinvigorate.
300, but I think it was closer to 30, so all good in that
30,
world.
I'm sorry. Yep,
Yep.
30 million. See, there I go.
Yep. I think 9
30 million.
Yep. $9 million original property, and I think it's valued now at $30 million after the payback period. Some of folks will question, well, why are we doing this? And that's because normally in your downtown areas, the cost to rehabilitate projects or build new is significantly more, because you just don't have the room. If
Right.
you're out in a green field, you've got room to stage product. You can maneuver around that site. In the downtown area, you're really working with, you've got cars, you've got traffic, you've got things going in and out. Your construction costs go up significantly, and how can we provide some to assist? The Renaissance Zone project requires that you invest a certain amount of dollars into that project to be eligible. You can't just slap a coat of paint on a building
Yep.
or inside and say that's good. You have to have a significant investment in that property to gain those benefits of a 5-year property tax exemption. So I think the payback on that, I think, was 2.3 years, 2.4 years after that 5-year period ends, that we would recoup those tax dollars that were forgiven within that time, and then you continue to recoup that money even after that 2.5-year period. So
We have a graph, goes back to 2005, 33 rehabilitation projects.
Yep.
It really revitalizes Mandan in a lot of ways. 10 new construction, I'm having
Right.
trouble with numbers today, 10 new construction projects, 38 lease projects, but across the board, it really strikes a lot of vitality into the city.
it has, and a lot of people always ask, well, if this legislation was put in place in 1999, why did Mandan wait until 2005 to adopt our first Renaissance zone? And that's because we were dealing with the downtown diesel fuel spill at the time. We weren't sure where property was headed, if we were going to be able to settle the lawsuit with the railroad. Once we and the state of North Dakota settled that lawsuit with the railroad in the summer of 2004, we were a big part of some legislative changes in the 2005 legislative session that allowed more reinvestment in this area. Banks were free and financial institutions were free to loan money to folks in this area. So that's why we waited till 2005. We got all of that going and have seen significant improvements in our downtown. So
We have a picture of a before and after from one project and more numbers, but I think it really, again, expresses a lot of significance. Since 2005, retained 12 businesses, 25 have expanded, and
Right.
21 new.
Yep, it's a great project, and you can see some of those projects, and very visible ones right now is the Dakota Customs project on the southeast end of Main Street. So great project. We're also able to add some what we call islands. So we've got an island out kind of by Marshall Lumber and Excel Homes, because we think there may be significant investment in that area once probably the strip project is complete. We may also look at adding another island where the former high school is, and that would provide some incentives for developers to come in and redevelop those sites. And so great program. The extension we had the public hearing. There's no public input that was received on it. Commission passed a resolution that will extend that time period out to August 31st of 2035.
That's hard to believe.
Hard to believe.
Hard to say
but
that out loud, but
it-
yeah,
it's
that's
hard
exactly
to believe
right.
that the program's been in place for 25 years,
Yes.
right?
2005 seems like a couple of years ago.
I know. And so now the process will be Madison presented at the school board on Monday night, got their sign of approval. City Commission Tuesday night. She will be at the Mandan Park Board next Monday night, and then Morton County Commission. So we'd like all of the entities that are taxing entities that are involved to give their blessing to the program, and then we move on from there.
Excellent. We heard last night from both the public library and the airport, so 2 more budgets were presented.
Right.
And we start with the airport, and it was a status update for 2026.
Yep.
And again, some interesting numbers. Photo of the airport from the air on the screen right now, and 100 based aircraft at the airport. Lots of other exciting things going on out there.
Really great, and if you want to look at Lindsay Gerhardt, our airport manager, does an awesome job out the airport. We're very fortunate to have her. You'll see her filling planes with I can't remember, the LL fuel or the Jet A fuel or things like that, or she'll be out mowing the grounds or moving snow. Or
We heard
things
she
like
does
that.
everything,
She
right?
is a one-person show out there, and we're very grateful and lucky to have her. The airport makes her presentation. Some of the big projects we've had going on. There's what we call the wetland mitigation
Right.
project out there. Some folks think, why are you doing this? Well, usually wet areas are attractors for birds. And as Lindsay said last night, birds and airplanes don't necessarily get
mix.
along that well, and they don't play in the same space. So that's a project that we have been working on for several years, and finally have a contractor on board to get that taken care of, which also opens up some additional property to potentially put a new hangar on, which will bring more lease revenue into the airport. So a lot of good things going on at the airport. Interesting, I think Lindsay said there are 60 activities there a day, which means takeoffs and landings. Said that number increases greatly when we got the Oshkosh fly-in show or convention, whatever you call that in Wisconsin, but Mandan's General Aviation Airport is a significant stopover point.
It says we have a graphic to approximately 200 additional operations in July from that Oshkosh traffic, and also caught my attention, Planes and Pancakes. Who doesn't like that? 1,750 people attended that annual event.
It was a smidge windy out this year.
A little breezy this year.
If you remember, that occurs on Sunday. Also, we have Buggies and Blues going on that day. Incredibly windy day. Great turnout. I was out at the airport and kind of limited the number of planes and the activities that were going on out there, but a whole hangar full of people having pancakes and sausage and things like that, and really good time because they've got some bounce houses for the kids, and just the folks that bring their planes in and allow and the kids and adults to take a look. Do you want to come and sit inside the plane? Do you want to walk through the plane? Do you want to do this? It's really a good public relations tool that the Mandan Airport does. And again, big thanks to all the volunteers that work on that. Lindsay presented some numbers on statistics on the activity of the pilots that fly in and their families, and what they're able to do. They're partaking in businesses in the downtown area, whether it's eating and visiting and things like that. So did a nice job.
Another great community event in Mandan.
Yep.
Also, she mentioned, I thought I'd show for those watching, they're hoping to build a new sign for the Mandan Regional Airport, Lawler Field next year, and it's a pretty nice looking sign. So hopefully they can find some money in the budget to take care of that.
When Lindsay says that we are the largest general aviation airport between Minneapolis and I think Seattle, that's a pretty big deal. and actually the new building that the airport authority purchased out there has upped our game quite a bit. So there's a lounge, there's people where if you need to take a rest, if you're doing a flyover, come in and sit in the lounge. You can make yourself a meal and things like that. We've got a couple of courtesy cars that can be utilized out there. So we're doing a lot of things to cater to those folks that are flying over and want to stop in. And also the businesses that we have out there are significant impacts in the community.
Also heard from the library and numbers looking back at 2024, and they had over 40,000 visitors. That's a great number, and I mentioned that's up over 5,000 from the previous year. So a lot of activity taking place at the library as they presented their budget. Yeah,
Barb does a fantastic job of, when they present their budget, it's kind of their time to shine, and which Lindsay and Barb did a great job of that last night of making sure that our commissioners, we do have a city commissioner, Schoberg, who sits on the library board of trustees, along with a county commissioner, because it is the Morton Mandan Public Library, and the activities that they have going on there are crazy, and I mean crazy in a very good way. The number of folks that come in the door, the additions of the meeting rooms and the upgrade to the library and in the whole park area have proven very beneficial to attendance. I think it's pretty cool that she applied for a grant and got some furniture to sit out on the patio, and you can listen to the bands just about every night of the week during the summer. And you see people over there just stopping by and having lunch. So again, the participation in the library activities, and we like to say it's not a library. You can talk loud and you can have fun, and all kinds of areas for whether your littles are 4, 5, 6-year-olds or the 1 and 2-year-olds. They've got story times, and even there's activities for adults there too, Tom. So
well, this caught my attention. 253 activities in 2024.
Right.
I believe there are 365 days in a year, so that's impressive. And attendance to those events were over 9,400.
Right.
Another thing that caught my attention was 822 new borrowers, and their bookmobile, 33 monthly stops. So really not just having people come to them, but they're doing some outreach into the community as well.
Their outreach, and it's interesting that they're working on some things. We had what we call the 3rd Street Corridor study done this winter and this fall, or last fall, and talk about where are areas of town that are maybe underserved? And Barb and her crew have been doing a really good job of making those identifications. And how do we best get the bookmobile down to them? Because bookmobile is just not running out to Hebron and Glen Ellyn and New Salem and Elmont and that they're in the Lakewood area, they're in the northwest part of Mandan, and how do we get into some of those other areas of town that may not see, they may, like we talked earlier, there is a railroad going through town, if you didn't know.
There is.
And crossing the tracks, you've got about 2 spots to do that, and sometimes kids don't have that opportunity to cross, and let's bring those services to them. And like I said, Barb and her crew at the library are awesome to work with, and they've always got smiles on their faces, and the meeting rooms that have been added with the upgrades at the library have been well used and are just a huge addition.
And sign of the times, it shouldn't surprise me, but the 39, almost 40,000 e-checkouts of materials ranging from magazines to books was also an impressive number.
Yeah, it again, crazy good. They've even revamped, I think they got a grant for their game room, which is a lot of teenagers, and we had a League of Cities board meeting there this spring, and some of them wanted a tour of the library, and here we've got 6 or 7 kids in the game room at the game table. If you haven't seen the game table, it's pretty impressive, and I didn't think Dungeons and Dragons was a thing anymore, but it's a thing.
All right.
And you've got kids that are they're not on their phones, they're interacting with each other, and they're playing games, and they're communicating, and it's just it's really great to see.
Moving along, the shores at Lakewood, the Phase 2 agreement, a few things unanimously passed last night, but give us an update. We have a map that gives you an idea of where this is, nestled next to the Heart River on the east side, but a lot of activity taking place.
A lot of activity. If you are listening, you are south of the Prairie West Golf Course and kind of east of the Lakewood subdivision, more towards the Heart River. And in that area, we have Dutton Drive, I think, or Dutton Circle, can't remember which name it is, a development that's also created by Art Goldhammer and his crew, that you see a lot of new houses going up in that area. And this is phase kind of 2 and phase 3 coming along, where we've approved the development agreement, which we've talked before about, I think, since May, and finally was green-lighted and approved. And now it comes time for, okay, we need to get the underground water, sewer, stormwater installed and things like that. And that's what the actions last night were related to. So we'll get bids on those projects, and you probably will see some activity, dirt flying this fall.
Last night, also talking about preliminary approval of the Mandan city budget. So we have some graphics that kind of will give you an idea of what was going on. Ultimately, the preliminary budget was unanimously approved, but some of the highlights, I guess, or pulling out some of the conversation points. A $3 million increase from the 2025 budget. Talk about that a little bit. And what the city's been looking at as you've been working on this for.
And we have a new mayor and 2 new commissioners, and so in January we started focusing on a long range CIP plan, capital improvement plan, and also financial plan. And so things worked out really well, because with 3 new commissioners, we want to make sure that they are well informed and well in tuned. Gave them kind of 6 months of a grace period, and then we hit them hard in January with meetings about every week for about 8 or 9 meetings, I think, to get them up to speed. And it really was a good exercise for all of us, from staffers to elected officials, to go through, here's what we have currently and here's what we're looking at in the future. So everybody was kind of on board, had time to input, comment, discuss, and things like that. So the culmination really is the preliminary budget for 2026. Greg Welsh, our finance director, and Justin Schultz, give them a shout out. A lot of time and effort goes into the prep on this, along with our other departments, but they are the crew that kind of brings everything together and puts together a package for the commission to consider. So $3 million more than last year. We've got, salaries and wages are going up. I think the preliminary budget will increase that by 3%. There are some new positions in there. I think we have 3 new firefighter positions. Important to note that we have applied for a grant to help fund those new positions. We also have the half-cent sales tax that was passed in June of 2024 to assist with public transportation, police and fire vehicles, city hall accessibility, and last night we had the second reading of the ordinance that would allow helping to fund new fire and police positions created on or after January 1st of 2025. So we didn't want to have that pay for existing stuff. These would be new positions to make that possible. So by using those funds, we're able to move forward with some additional emergency personnel, which we need. We need to get our staffing up to speed on our 2 fire stations as we are now. And then obviously we've been talking about looking at a 3rd station in the northwest part of town too. So new positions, additional debt that comes on. We've got kind of a weird abnormality that comes on with a 27th payroll.
I thought that really caught my attention. That was interesting.
Happens about every 10 years or so, but it's a significant budgetary impact. So it's to the tune of, I think, $400,000+.
Yeah.
So it is significant when you look at, well, you're going from $3 million. If you take that $400,000, you're down to $2.6 million, and that's again related to some machinery and equipment and things. But we also have to make sure that we are compliant with House Bill 1176, the 3% property tax cap and things like that, and make sure that we are following state law and in compliance, and we are. We always need to make sure that folks understand that your property valuation may go up by more than 3%, so your home value or your business value may go up by 5 or 6%. I think the average increase was 3.4%. But that we still need to be in compliance with what our mill levy and what our mill dollars are able to do. And
we have a graphic too. You can see at home if you're listening. You'll just have to listen along. But an average residential property valued at $300,000 plus 3.5% average valuation increase on the city's projected mill rate was an $8 annual increase.
Right, $8 per year on a $300,000 house. That may change a little bit because again we have the preliminary budget hearing or preliminary budget consideration last night, August 5th. We can't increase that budget from now until the budget hearing and the final budget. We can decrease, so there may be some adjustments and fine-tuning that we do between now and the end of August. But again, that is the preliminary budget, and again, important to note, the city makes up 23%. So you get your tax bill, it's $1,000. What the city's portion of that for police and fire and public works is $230, or about 23%. So when we say that your home value, average home value, $300,000 house going up 3.5%, that translates into what do I owe more? $8 a year. Not $8 a month, but $8 a year. We're still doing some work on our utility rates and things like that. Don't anticipate any major changes on that end. But again, at the end of the day, people go, well, how much more is this going to cost me?
Right.
$300,000 house, $8 a year from our standpoint.
Yeah, so that really put it in perspective. And then just looking ahead, it'll be early October when we'll finalize the 2026 budget.
Yep, we will have the public hearing, I think, is the second or the third Tuesday in September, and we'll have that budget hearing at that point in time. The public can come in and comment, tell us what they think, and then I think the action will be to, all right, let's close the public hearing, and then the final consideration for the budget will be the first Tuesday in October, so that if there's any changes that people want to make or the commission wants to make after that budget hearing, there's an opportunity to do that.
Well, it was a meaty agenda last night.
A lot of stuff, and
accomplished.
It's usually always the first Tuesday in August is the budget time, and there's a lot of stuff there. And like I said, I can't leave without giving a big shout out to all of our staff, all of our department heads, all of our commissioners that have put in a number of hours and time and meetings and going through long-range financial planning exercises beginning the first Tuesday in January. So kudos to them, kudos to our staff, kudos to all the consultants that have helped us bring this together. So it's really a good thing.
If you missed the meeting and you want to check it out, and you can watch City Current and get the highlights, but All of this is archived on dakotamediaaccess.org, and please be sure to take a look at our apps, the DMA app and the Radio Access 102.5 app, so you can watch or listen to us wherever you are, whenever you can. And Jim, great to see you. Thanks
Thank
for
you, Tom.
joining us, everybody, and we'll see you back here next week.
For more information on what was discussed in this episode of City Current, visit cityofmandan.com or call 701-667-3215. If you have any suggestions, comments, or issues you would like addressed in future City Current episodes, contact us at info@freetv.org. This program airs on Government Access Channel 2 and 602 in HD, or on Radio Access 102.5 FM. It's also available as a podcast on radioaccess.org and as a video viewing link at freetv.org. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of City Current.